Hi and welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our first ever property investors interview. I don't have a name for this yet, but it's very informal, sit down chat with beautiful women, beautiful men in property who are walking the walk, talking the talk, getting results, and just willing to share their story about how they did it, how they overcome challenges. So today I have Chenai, who's so happily and willingly joined me just to have a sit down conversation with you and share her journey. So hey, thank you so much, Chenai. Thanks for
You're welcome. You're welcome. Nice to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me. I appreciate
Thank you so much for coming, honestly. And how are you? How are you today?
Today's good. Today's good. Yeah, it's good.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. So you're in property. You're in property, and you have to tell us, where are you based? Where are you based?
So I actually live in London.
Okay.
In Greenwich, London, and my investment area is actually in Birmingham. So when someone says to me, "Where are you based?" I kind of pause. But then, yeah, I'm based in London, but I invest in Birmingham.
Yeah, which is quite typical, isn't it? You find that there's quite a few people who, live in one area and then invest in another. So it's it's quite cool, quite good.
Yeah, I mean, it's very normal at the moment because London property prices are more expensive, so you tend not to get as much good return as you want, especially if you're looking for cash flow as well. So that's the reason I started investing in Birmingham.
Yeah, excellent. And can you tell us a bit about your background? How did you get started in property, or a bit about your background?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Zimbabwe. So my family, we came to the UK in 1999. I came at the age of 17 and basically finished off my education here. And in terms of getting into property, I kind of fell into it, to be honest.
Oh, good.
So yeah, so it was one of those things I just fell into because at the time, I was actually at university at the time, and I was thinking I needed an accommodation somewhere to stay with, because my son was about, I think it was about 4 or 5 at the time. I can't remember off the top of my head. And I wanted a place that we could just call home. I didn't want to rent and all that kind of stuff. And then I heard about this shared ownership scheme. And then we managed to secure a 2-bed flat at that time. Yeah, so that's my first kind of real property purchase, really.
Yeah, your first dive into property.
Yeah, absolutely. It was.
Excellent. What area was that? Is that in London as well, or?
So that was actually in Birmingham, not city centre Birmingham, but close to an area called Dudley, which is just on the outskirts of Birmingham. Yeah.
Oh, so you're familiar. Is that where you done your university studies then, in Birmingham?
Yeah, yes, I did. I went to University of Wolverhampton.
Yeah. So my next question then naturally is, what made you choose Birmingham? But I guess you know the area quite well. Yeah. Is that what made you choose it for your investment area, or anything else?
I mean, to be honest, it just made sense because, like I said, so the way I kind of started out was I bought this 2-bed flat. I couldn't afford 100% of it. I could only afford 50% at the time because I was still at university. And but I knew that once I finished university, I was going to qualify, and then I earn more money, and then I can buy the other 50%. That's all that I just thought at the time.
Yeah.
And fast forward, I think it was probably about 8 years later, I then qualified and I was ready to move on in terms of career-wise. And I moved down to London. And it was only then when it was about 2018, 2019, when I started hearing about property investing from a professional perspective. The alarm bell just went on. I was like, oh, okay, so people do this as a profession. You can actually replace your income at some point and earn all this money without actually going to a 9 to 5. So then that's when the curiosity just hit.
Yeah. And is that what made you, go and do a bit of research and then find out what is this all about? I can imagine.
Yeah, I did. And YouTube is a great resource. It kind of got me going. I started Googling what people do, property investing. And and then I started seeing that, okay, real estate, it makes sense. And then looking at even, videos from the United States as well, and how, how they do real estate and all that. They call it real estate there. So how they do it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then obviously I used to binge on Homes Under the Hammer as well at the, so it just all started making a lot more sense. And I was thinking, hang on a second, there's something here. And then, yeah, I just got the bug from that time.
Yeah, and I think that's what it's like, isn't it? It's property is a big unknown until you start undiscovering and understanding what is possible in property. Because you just hear property and think buy to let, you just naturally think buy to let. But once you go and do a bit of homework, you realize, not even homework, a bit of research, you realize that there's so much more strategies out there. And almost
there is, there definitely is. I think the only thing I would advise people is if you start listening about property, you've got to be really serious in investing in property, because I think it's more, once you get into it and you get the bug about it, you become obsessed. And I think I'm like on the point where I'm now obsessed. It's all I talk about. In my family, they're just thinking, oh, what is she on about?
Yeah.
I'm sure I've lost friends as well who are thinking, oh, she's always talking about property. So, once you get into it, there's a world of opportunity in property investing as well. And
yeah,
it all depends on what you're after and what you want to achieve.
That's it, yeah. And the beautiful thing is as well, you meet some amazing people along the journey, don't you? When you're networking, when you're getting to learn these strategies, you find other people on the same journey as you, wanting to know. And it's like, yeah, and it makes it just that bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, they say property is a people business, and it's very true. You don't know tomorrow, whoever you meet today, you can have a conversation with someone, meeting them at a property meetup, or through any of some of the networks, and a couple of years later you could be joint venture partners or something. So you just don't know where some of these relationships can take you.
Absolutely. And that's it. How we met is by being on oh no, it wasn't through being on the same mentorship, it was before that, isn't it? At a speaking engagement.
Yeah, I think, yes, it was an event in Canary Wharf.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because I knew your face, because I'd seen you on Facebook before through the mentorship that we both did. But I recognized you when I saw you, and I was like, it was good.
That's it. And you had your famous red lipstick on, which I said I absolutely love. It's like a signature for you, because I always think of you and think of this lovely red lipstick you wear. And but that's how we met, is being out there, being in the field, connecting, being on the journey. And I think that's the most important thing, is when people are wanting to get into property, it is good to surround yourself with like-minded people, just so you can bounce off one another and progress in that direction. Because look at us now.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, and you don't know what the future holds, like you said. So so tell me about your first property investment that you had.
Yeah, so like I said, like the two-bed property that I bought when I was with my son when he was young at the time, I wouldn't say that was a first investment, because I really didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. It just made sense to, rather than paying rent, to have this mortgage. So what I would officially say was my first real investment was after I had heard some of the training through the YouTube channels and everything, and then started investing myself. And that was actually a property that I purchased in auction. So I started doing some mentoring program, which helped me quite a lot in some of the knowledge that, the knowledge around property that you need to get going. And one of the strategies that my mentor talked about quite a lot was auction properties. And the good thing about auction properties is, yes, it's fast paced, you need to know what you're doing, but also I find it an easier strategy to implement, because you do the research of the property, you find out what's wrong with it, because there's always something wrong with it. That's why it's in the auctions to start off with. So always go with this, you have to be like a detective, you have to know what's wrong with it, why is it in the auction. Sometimes it could be a case of it's a probate property and the children just want to get rid of it, and it's just in the state and they just don't want to do the work. Or sometimes there could be some structural issues with it. there could be some lease problems with it and things like that. So your job is to know what's wrong with it, assess it, and see if it's something that you want to invest in, or if you can solve because the idea is you want to solve the problem, and then refinance or whatever you're doing, whatever strategy you're doing, and then you own it or you're selling it on to make a profit. So my first purchase was an auction. It doesn't happen overnight, because we went to because when I say I did this with my mom at the time. My mom, she's another property investor that I think you should definitely interview as well. She's 70 and she's got lots of property.
Wow, she's
really good. She's really good. Excellent. Yeah, so I guess that's where I get my inspiration from. And so it started off, I think we went to an auction in February, and then I think it went in March, and then it was only when we went in June, that's when I managed to secure a property, because all the time I was getting outbidded, and, you know, just not getting the one property.
Absolutely. And can I just pause you there? Is, you know, that makes your journey so realistic, is that you didn't go on the first time and secure the first property and you know, happy days. You had to keep going. And, you know, that's stuff I really like to highlight with people. I did do a video on securing my first investment property in South Wales. And I was just so honest in the video. I mean, all the trials and tribulations I had, I've been very honest about. And I think that's what made people like it, is because you're being honest. You're telling the truth, but that didn't secure on the first time. And the thing with auction properties is that you have to do so much homework ahead of time before you go and sign on that dotted line. And you have to make sure you do it right. So I can only imagine how much work you had ahead of time before getting that property.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, even the simple thing like going to view the property.
Yeah.
You know, some people don't go and view the property, and some people don't even know you can view the property, and you can. So there is a lot of homework. I don't think it's for the faint-hearted. I guess I was quite fortunate that I had a mentor who was backing me up, and I had, you know, a network of people, and I am a risk taker, I'll be honest with you. I just wanted a property because I'd heard about all these strategies, and I just wanted to get going kind of thing. So for me, it was just, let's do this kind of thing. Yes, I took some risks, but it did pay off in the end. So you're right, you do have to do a lot of research, make sure you know exactly what you're buying, you know, partner up with somebody who maybe has more experience than you, and then learn from them as well. So, you know, that way you kind of, you know, leverage your risk, and it's not too risky for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So what did you end up buying in the auction?
So I bought a 2-bed semi-detached property. And so the problem with this particular property is there wasn't really a problem. But what it was is there were actually 2 semi-detached properties that were owned by the same person.
Okay.
And the other one was a complete wreck. So the one on the left was a complete wreck. The one on the right was okay.
Oh, wow.
And I was fortunate that I went and I actually viewed the property. I viewed the area. I knocked on neighbor's door. I found out what the issue was. So the one that I purchased was just, you know, it just needed fresh carpets, fresh paint, and a new kitchen if you wanted to, but not necessarily. You didn't have to do anything to it. The one on the other side needed absolutely everything doing, completely wrecked, replastering, new kitchen, new bathroom, and things like that. So I guess the owner just threw both of them in the auction because it just made sense to just sell both of them, and then whoever's fortunate winner would have the pair or have the one.
Yeah.
But I was fortunate because I viewed the property and I knew the condition, and I knew which one to take. Unfortunately, the person who bought the other one, also a London investor, didn't view the property and paid more than I paid as well to add to that.
So the property is one property itself. That's what you purchased, one, or was it one plot with 2 properties on it?
So it was 2 semi-detached properties. Okay. So it's 2 separate properties, but they're 2 semis, so they like together.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it's 2 separate properties. One was 186 and one was 188.
Okay, and what the bid was on one of those properties?
No, both of them. So both of them were in the auction, one after the other. So I purchased the second one because the first one was complete wreck.
Yes, yeah.
But the person who purchased the first one didn't take the time to come out and compare the two and buy. He was a London investor, probably just got happy on the bidding day.
Yeah.
And I think they paid about £8,000 more than I did.
Wow.
And they still haven't had it. So we're talking about a couple of years ago now. So that was in 2019. We're now in 2021, that was 2 years ago. And he still hasn't really properly rented it out since then.
Gracious, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's just the story to say, people, you need to take the time to just view the property. Even if you're working and you can't have, try and get somebody to go and see it for you, or at least, take a day off. It's worth it, because it sometimes it's better to spend, £100 here and there with fuel or whatever to travel than losing thousands and thousands of pounds.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you got this property, did you end up doing that work that you mentioned, the new carpets, the lick of paint, and then finding tenants? Did you do that yourself as well?
Yes, and that's what I did. So my exit was just to have a property to do as my official first buy to let. So I updated it by new carpets, painted most of the house. The upstairs didn't need much painting, it was just the bottom. And then also the kitchen, rather than putting a brand new kitchen in, I just changed the kitchen doors, which is a lot simpler, and then just changed the kitchen flooring as well, just to give it that little fresh look. And then after a couple of months, I think that only took about 3 to 4 weeks, actually. It didn't take long. And it just took, it normally probably would have taken a week or two, but it's because I was trying to find builders as well. Because at the time, I hadn't done my homework and find local builders that were immediately available to start on the work as well. And so my plan was then just to get into a nice livable condition and then refinance it, which was going on to a refinance buy to let mortgage, and then just rent it out and just wait. Yeah. And just have it as part of my portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in terms of funding the investment, when you're working with an auction, they usually say you can't use buy to let mortgages. So how did you fund that purchase?
So I funded that purchase with a bridge.
Okay.
Yeah, because bridges tend to be, yes, they're more expensive, but they tend to be a bit more certain as well. And it's easier because it's quicker. You get a quicker decision. And so that's why my goal was to do it up, refinance, and go into a normal buy-to-let mortgage, and then just keep the property.
Yeah, absolutely. And the beautiful thing about bridges now is that there are some products that you can start with the bridging company and then refinance onto the bridging company's mortgage side. So you're with one lender throughout the whole process, which I think makes it a bit less daunting for someone starting who used to.
Well, I think it does. Yeah, I think it does. At the time when I started, I don't know if that product was there. It may have been, but it wasn't something that I was offered in. But yeah, I think now there's lots of products that can help you. I mean, the only thing I would say, to be honest with you, and a lot of people do get caught out with this, when it comes to bridging, you need to make sure, review the interest rates, always take it for longer than you think. Some people just say, oh, I just do a bridge for 3 to 6 months. I would say 9 months plus, it does, because sometimes you don't know, anything could happen. Sometimes you might not be able to commit to the refurb straight away. So it might take longer, because if you agree a term with the bridge, like 9 months or something, and then you go past that, the fees are just so extortionate that the interest rate just really goes up. So just give yourself enough time so that you can actually do what you need to do, and then come off the bridge by refinancing or by selling the property as well, whichever way, whatever your exit is.
I think that's excellent advice, definitely. Yeah. And then especially with bridging, there's a lot of apprehension to using bridging. And I think a lot of people just find it so expensive and they steer away from it, but not realizing it can also work for you in terms of, like you said, being a quick way to access funding, and quite a lot too, isn't it? They usually go up to like 2 million or something.
Yeah.
So that,
yeah, but it gets you going, and I think sometimes that's what you want. You just want to build that momentum and get going, and sometimes bridges come in handy, especially when you're starting out as a property investor. You know, there are savvier ways of raising money and things like that, but sometimes you might not have all that experience, or you might not have all that knowledge when you're starting out. And a bridge can you know, you can leverage off a bridge. I mean, it's just lending, but it's just at an expensive rate.
Yeah, that's it. But it gets the job done.
Yeah, it does.
So did you come up against any challenges? Did you have any challenges in that particular property, or just in your investment journey so far?
I would say the challenge I faced was also the guy I got to do the refurb as well wasn't very credible. I did get him from Checker Trade, you know, there were some reviews on him and things like that. But in the end, I realized he wasn't really the person who was actually doing the work, because there's sometimes when I got there and he wasn't there. And, you know, there were some things that we had agreed that he didn't do. So I think being a newbie, sometimes I think he really took advantage of me.
Yeah.
And I think also because I wasn't sure of a lot of things in terms of pricing as well. Now that I've got more experience under my belt and I've done this, you know, a few times now, I now know that he kind of really ripped me off, not completely, but some of the prices he charged me, I could have done a full refurb with that price, you know. So, but you know, it's one of those things, and it's lesson learned. And now I take my time. I take my time in choosing the right person to do a refurb for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where the cost implication can somehow be blown out of the water. You expect to pay this much. It was expect to pay this much, and then next thing you know, they're coming in with this problem and that problem, and next thing you know, the bill is going up and up. So you're right, finding the right build is essential. Definitely.
Yeah, it is. And also, I would say also shopping around for material as well. Because I mean, I did the classic thing of I went down to B&Q to get a laminate flooring, you know. Was that the best thing to do? No, B&Q was the closest. But now I know of trader accounts. I know you can get discounts and all those type of things now. So now I probably get, you know, my flooring for half the price. Compared to when I did it the first time. So you do learn, and that's the beauty about property. It's, you know, you can, at the beginning, you're allowed to make these mistakes because you will not know everything, but you learn from them. It's a very valuable expense, yes, but you will definitely learn from it.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Yeah.
So what's your vision for the future? What are your plans moving forward from here? I mean, we've just overcome COVID-19. Well, we haven't even overcome it yet, really, have we? We're still kind of going through it. Lockdown's supposed to be lifted on the 12th of April, some shops. But, you know, well, in fact, before you answer that question, how has COVID impacted you? Or has it? You might not have.
Well, I'll be honest, I think at the beginning it did. When it started, it was like, come on, you don't hear about death counts every day on TV and Boris coming every evening telling us about what was happening. It was really scary. Emotionally, it was really scary because you just weren't sure what was really going on and is this happening to you and things like that. So there was a moment of, I guess for me, like a moment of wobble. But I think what really pulled me through that time was just my faith, really. And that's what really pulled me through. It's sometimes, you know, these things happen, but you kind of go back and say, but I've overcome so much in my life. Why would this flu, you know, stop me from doing what I was called to do in my purpose? So it was, you know, and you just go back to your routines of, you know, praying, meditation, and, you know, motivational talking and stuff like that. And also, I think at the beginning, we weren't having online property meetings as well. You know, it just wasn't there at the start because no one knew what was going on. So there wasn't really a network to talk to. But once everybody just got used to the fact that we are in lockdown, then this Zoom was now introduced, you know, MS Teams was introduced. you now were able to see people on a video, but it was interactive. But now, to be honest, I'm just used to it now, and I just decided to just get on with it. So I just, I don't put on the TV anymore. I don't watch it because I, at the beginning I was watching every single word and every single thing that people were saying, and I just felt terrified. But then I just decided, you know what, I'm going to switch this off. And let's go into positive mode. We can get through this.
And that's the right attitude to adopt during a time like that. Absolutely. So moving forward, what are your plans for the future?
So, I mean, for me, I'm not in property full time yet. My plan is to, I don't know, it's a difficult one. I think when I started out, I'll be honest, when I kind of started out, my goal was, yes, I want to quit that 9 to 5 and and then just be a property investor and you do all these deals and stuff like that. I had that vision at the start. I had that energy at the start. I still do, but now it's more tailored. It's now more structured. I don't think I'm necessarily ever going to give up my profession because I'm a chartered accountant by background. I've worked very hard to get to where I have, and it's not something that I'm going to decide overnight that I'm going to give up because I'm earning 10,000-20,000 pounds a month from property and stuff like that. I think I'll always be an accountant. I'll always have that professional finance background with me. Whether I'm going to put that together with real estate, I'll decide when, but I'm not out to give up the day job just yet. But in terms of my properties, in terms of what I'm planning to do, I am planning to purchase small properties. I've just secured a 3-bed property in Birmingham, which I'm doing another refurb as well. So that's something that people can also, tune into on my Instagram page and my Facebook page as well. So I'll be doing some updates on that and how that's going. And it's just from now, it's just building more and more in terms of development, in terms of the kind of projects that I'm doing. I also want to, because all along I've just been kind of using my own money, using like friends and family's monies to get to some of the, to purchase some of the properties I've purchased. But now I'm looking to expand my network, work with other people, do some joint ventures with someone, someone even work with someone more experienced than I have and go into big developments and things like that. So that's what my plan is, to go into bigger and, bigger stuff and stuff like, but always tailored around buying something, adding value, and either refinancing it or selling it on. And that's the strategy I'm going forward with.
Fantastic, that's good. So, if people want to follow you on your journey, you mentioned that you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram. Would you like to share those details with us?
So on Instagram, it's Chenai B. And then on Facebook, it's Chenai Banda. You can find me under Chenai Banda. And I'm also on LinkedIn as well, as Chenai Banda as well. So people can find me in only.
We'll have those details linked at the bottom there so people can find you if they want to find you and ask lots of questions, because you have a lot of information, a lot of know-how, a lot of experience, and it's just so nice to be able to connect with someone like that. What do you have, or what is your advice for anyone who is in property at the moment, maybe new, maybe going through challenges, especially with COVID, not knowing where to start? What would be your advice for that person at home watching you?
I would say the key number one advice is I think you should invest in yourself. And when I say invest in yourself, I don't mean go out there and buy an expensive property training course. No, I mean, take the time to invest in yourself, because I think your mindset has to be right for this, for property investing or for any business, really. I think people fail because they don't plan things, and sometimes your circumstances around you might have to change for you to actually pursue your dream or your purpose in life. So I would say invest in yourself by taking the time to understand who you are, what makes you what makes you tick, what are important things to you, what are your core values, what's important to you. So know who you are first. When you're starting out in property, I would say go to YouTube, just binge on YouTube for weeks and weeks. You'll get a lot of the knowledge there, to be honest. Go on some of the free property training courses, binge on those, talk to people, tell everybody what you're doing, friends and family. They might think you're a little bit crazy at the beginning, but just keep going, and read a lot of books as well. There's a lot of good books I would recommend, property books as well, and mindset books, business books. You got loads of podcasts as well you can listen to as well. So I would definitely just get educated and just learn from other people, because a lot of people have done this before. So just learn from them, just learn from what they've done, learn from people's mistakes, learn from some of the mistakes I've said I've done as well. And I'm always open to speaking to someone. If someone connects with me, we can have a chat. I'm not going to charge you anything for consultation. It was funny because somebody said to me, "Are you going to charge me for this?" And I said, "No, I'm not charging you. I'm happy to share, because if I can help you or you save money somehow because I've just said something to you, that's a good feeling. So I'm happy to help with anyone who wants to connect and talk about property. And just do it, just do it."
Yeah, just get started and just keep persevering, like you say.
Yeah, just do it.
Those tips are wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Definitely. So it's been lovely, sitting down, having this chat and getting to know you. And, we said people can find you on Instagram, they can find you on Facebook at Chenai Banda if they want any more information. And maybe we can do another sit down after one of your projects. Maybe do a walk around in a couple of months or maybe next year around one of your projects and take it from there. That'd be great. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
No, you're welcome. And thank you so much, Sabrina, for having this good platform. It's nice, and keep going with what you're doing. I think it's really good that people can learn from you. And, I'm sure you're going to have wonderful guests coming on, and, just keep going. But thank you very much for this opportunity. And thank you for everyone for listening to my story.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. You take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye, everyone.